Hey guys, Dale here, back with another episode of Blueprints, and today we're going to take a look at how I went about designing the Star Wars CR90 Corvette for our Jedi Survivors series. We're actually in like the starting save for the Jedi Survivor series. We have Marrakesh here and Pantha. We put them in some EVA gear. The first thing that I wanted to show you was it was a lot simpler designing those ships than it was the Star Trek ships we've done. And part of the reason for that is because of the Outer Rim SOS2 ship parts mod. So we're just subscribed to the 1.5 version, but we're going to take a look at the previous version because it actually has all these like screenshots of how the ships get assembled. So the very first screenshot of a ship is the CR90 Corvette, and we'll take a look at that in game. Let's actually turn on dev mode and God mode there. And if we go down to the starships button, this is where all those starship parts are going to be. For some reason, the mod's a little bugged in the current version, and these aesthetic pieces don't stay connected to the ship. I think we actually saw that in the first episode of Jedi Survivors. When we went to land, all the aesthetic pieces that I had added to Panther's ship just kind of like fell away. So we're going to use these mostly as just kind of like a template. And the CR90 Corvette is down here. You can see there are a lot of different pieces, and the pictures from the mod page, the original mod page, are pretty helpful in helping you kind of assemble these. It's also a little backwards. Like this says it's the front left, right? Front right. Okay. It's actually the front left. So you can see here it's fitting nicely kind of right there. And when we place it, we can see that the like black outline continues. And so it can be a little tricky. Some of these, when you grab the piece, you're not sure exactly where it will go. Like that piece here, we can see that the black outline doesn't continue. So I'm gonna assume that this like goes in a little bit, maybe like there, and then we can deconstruct that. And that's looking all right. Okay, and so let's do this side now. It went in a little bit, yeah. Okay, and this side, actually, this is going to be another one of those pieces that maybe overlaps a little bit. Let's go there with it, and we'll kind of see how it all fits together. At the end, we'll see if we need to make some adjustments. Okay, so yeah, black outline continues. We've already placed that piece. Okay, here we go. And there we go. Zooming out, you can kind of, it's looking pretty good. Docking this side. Docking this side. Engine block. Okay, so that looks centered. Engines. Actually, right there. Oh, that's interesting that it needs different blocks for different sides of it. Is that right? Engines aren't too important. So this is how I started out with it. If we take a look at this, and if we assume like one block is 1 meter, when we bring up planning from the tip of this to the end of this, and we'll go at a couple blocks for the engines, it is 76 meters. So the Corvette is actually 150 meters. So if we want to build this to scale, we need to increase size by like we need to actually basically like double it, right? So that's what we ended up doing. So what I'll show you what I ended up doing is let's call that the engines. Okay, so this is 75 blocks. So we want a Corvette that's going to be 150 blocks if we want it to be kind of to scale, right? Um, what I did was I ended up just kind of like using this as my template for sketching and just kind of like filling this in. So anywhere we wouldn't overlap with the black outer rim is where I would place blocks. With the assumption that something like this, we're going to build like, you know, a, a, a curved piece in there, an angled piece in there. And the same thing here, right? We'll do angled pieces in there. So once I got this all like sketched out, then I just kind of like took measurements and doubled those measurements. So let me get this filled in for you and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so we have the left side done. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to copy these plans. I'm going to hit X to mirror them and then E a couple times to get it flipped into the right position. And then we'll just line this up and now we have it on both sides. So here we know that the measurement is 75. So we've gone ahead and put like a line down that says like 75. For the engine block, we know that there is a width here of 27. So if we double that, that's going to be like 54. And we'll just make that a straight like, actually, like this is what we can do. We can just say like 27 from the middle, 27 from the middle. And that gets us 53, so a little shorter. And then towards the middle of the engine block, we have 29. We can come out 29. And right from the middle, 29. How high is the engine block? It is 21. So we'll go up 41. And we'll say, hey, this is the end of our engine block here. Little misfire there. And okay, this is about the like middle third of it, right? And it's 9, so we should do like 18 somewhere here in the middle. What is this measurement? That's 39. So if we go to like 20, we'll have that, and we can go 9, not 9. And how far did we go out? We just went out like 2. Okay, so we've kind of got like the back third of the ship blocked out, and then we could do the same for the front, right? So we'll say like this kind of like bridge section is 14. Oops. So 14 down is right there. We know that like that neck is going to start about there. How wide is this at the widest point? It's 15. So we can go maybe about here and block out 15. And then I want to have like one block up front, and then we'll do some angled pieces off of it. So let's say that like one block is right there, and then we know angled pieces are going to come off of it. It's a pretty steep angle. So we do have ship parts. If we go into ship, ship hull, we have hull corners that are 5 and 6 long. So what if we went for like 5? Let's go back to planning, and we'll say like, okay, so this is going to be 5, 5, 5, and then maybe just like a little area there. 4, we'll say that's 4, and then it goes in for 3, so we'll go in for 6, and then it kind of starts to angle back, but not as steeply. Let's do 4. Okay, so this neck piece is 7. How far out are we? Is that 7? That is 7. So we're meeting at just the right spot. This is going to be 15, so let's go 30 down. Okay, and that feels like it's gonna be pretty slim to me. So we might actually take this back just a little bit. I'm not a designer or a mathematician, so this is not gonna be exact or perfect, but we want the feel of it to, I think it's more about the feel than it is about actually being like very precise, especially when we think about like having to design a base inside of this guy, right? So we have like 3 blocks for an angle there, 2 blocks, 3 blocks. Why don't we, if we take a look at this, this room can be 10 wide. So I think that's fine. That feels better to me. And then basically on and on, just kind of like doubling these measurements or taking these measurements at their value, 17, and saying, okay, well, we're going to go 17 out from here. Let's go ahead and bring in the schematic and so the other thing to note is that I would just build one side and then do my copy paste, right? So X, EE, and then just overlay that so I don't have to worry about building both sides. I ended up building something, or I ended up making plans that look like this. So we have the CR90 Corvette. Like, it looks pretty good. Let's see if I made similar assumptions. Like this neck piece, it's 7 on the inside. Actually, it's like 9 on the inside, right? So yeah, I did kind of make that similar assumption where I said, oh, this should be thicker in here. So we thickened that up a little bit. Looks like we have spaces for like 2-piece angles. So we made that like staggered a little bit more, but the overall like shape and feel of it feels pretty good to me. If we go from the back of the engine to the very front, we're 52. So I ended up making this about 2 blocks longer than what I planned. I'm not quite sure why. Probably like messing around with the engine block and placement and stuff. But let me go ahead and dev mode in a build, and we'll take a look at what the ship looks like. Okay, done with the build. Dev moded an explosion in here just because I'm not quite sure what parts they can stand on to repair and what they can't. It seems like they can stand on the coolant tanks and the capacitors. They can't walk. I think they can walk through the heat sinks. Apparently they can't. So they can't walk on the heat sinks, so they need to be able to stand on something if we want to do repairs there. This is a bit different from what I built in Jedi Survivors. Like, we used the spinal engines instead of just the nuclear, but replacing these with just the nuclear engines lets us build in a lot of heat and weapon capacity back here in these engine rooms, and then it kind of frees up some space in the rest of the ship for us to do other things. So we have a couple rooms down here we could do some things with. We have a sterile room we could turn into maybe like a kitchen. We're still doing a lot of coolant tanks down the middle section here, but we've turned this into like a large barracks area that actually sleeps like 22 people, and it's 2 separate barrackses. We are doing kind of like cargo up in this area. We have a shuttle bay here, and we can fit some pretty big SRTS ships in here if that's what you like using. So we've got a Defender Corvette in here, and then we've also got a little squadron of V-Wings down here. Some liberties that I took with the design, just because this feels like it's very light on weapons. We have one big one back here, we have one big one back there, and we have 2 small ones up front. I wonder, could we replace those with big ones? We could push the bridge back a little bit, but on the CR90, usually it's just 2 guns there on the side. We could actually fit in a few more guns here, but I wanted it to be, as close to the CR90 as possible with the RimWorld, right? But this is what we're looking like right now. So, we have a couple private rooms up here for officers Could potentially make these rooms for officers, or maybe like a brig or something as well. They have a communal dining room, they have a recreation room, storage, and then potentially like some workshops or something back here. So that's what our plan ends up looking like. If we take a look at the ship's stats, we can see weight is 9416, maximum takeoff weight is 16,000. So we've got quite a bit of cushion there. We could load up with some cargo. One thing that we did not build actually is if we go here, options, like I think pretty essential for most ship builds would be a salvage bay, right? Um, we could probably fit that salvage bay in here if we took a couple of the shuttles out. We could fit it, in one of these auxiliary rooms back there. We could fit it in a few different places. We could even like stick it like right here and just have like this engine computer room, the front part of the engine room, like open to this hallway. So just some things to think about. Like, you don't have to build it exactly this way, but we will go ahead and, since I did make some changes to the blueprints from Jedi Survivors, we'll copy this. I like these changes a bit better, and we'll save that plan. Overwrite, and I'll get that posted on GitHub. I'll also post some of these other plans that we made for our Jedi Survivor series. So we did a DP-20 frigate. It's also to scale. So this is going to have quite a few more guns on it. What else did we make to scale? Load plans. We made this guy, but it's not to scale. Obviously, this guy should be a lot bigger. We also made a Pelta class frigate. This should be tons bigger. I'm pretty sure. Actually, no, this might be the right size for that. Let me just like Google real quick. No, it should be about twice the size of that. So, really huge. And then load plans, Venator class. We traced this one also from the Star Wars ship parts mod, but obviously not to scale. We would have to do this at like a quarter scale or even smaller because Venators are so big. So I'll get these two posted for sure. This plan, load plan, the BFF-1 bulk freighter from kind of like Legends, this is not to scale. It should be a lot longer as well. But I did create this for our Jedi Survivors series to use this just kind of like a cargo ship. This is what we would put the salvage bay and stuff on, because we plan on having like a little fleet of ships together, right? So this will be kind of like our capital ship, and then this will be a frigate that we'll probably load even more guns onto, and then this ship is where we'll probably store like excess materials and stuff outside of these ships that we like plan to live on. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Blueprints. I will come up with some other Star Wars ships as well. I still have kind of like a docket of Star Trek ships that I want to do. I have a list of Star Wars ships that I want to do. So we'll see a few more of these designs. And when I can, I'll try and build them to scale. If I can't build them to scale, we'll try and do like a half scale just to see what it looks like in RimWorld. Anyhow, thanks for hanging out today. As always, until next time, have a good one. Bye.